everyone. Welcome to the pre-signing day version of the Bison Video Blog. Along with Jeff Kolpack, I'm Dom Izzo.
Pre-signing day blog.
We're getting to that. The fans have demanded it, and of course, you and I are on the recruiting bit as we have been all season long, and now we're in the home stretch. As of we tape this on Monday afternoon, the Bison have 16 verbal commitments locked up for the 2012 signing class, which of course will be announced on Wednesday. And Jeff, in past years we saw, at least since I've been here, that Houston or Texas had developed into a big recruiting area. Michigan they tried, but now it seems over the last 2 years that Nebraska and Kansas have become hotbeds for Bison coaches.
I think the Reggie Moore, assistant coach Reggie Moore, pipeline to Houston has faded away, more or less. And it was good to NDSU too with DJ McNorton and Lauren Holloway, of course. But yeah, I think now maybe you're looking more of an Arizona look to this team. Now, we don't know about Arizona. There was a couple guys last year who redshirted, and now there's, what, 2 more coming, maybe another one. We don't know yet. This is signing day, so it fluctuates so much for a couple guys this time of the year. And now you're looking at Kansas, too. 3 guys from Kansas just got off the phone with Jacob Davis, linebacker from Wichita, 6'2.5", 238. Benches close to a couple of you, 400 pounds. And, you know, I talked to his high school coach, and he's disappointed that Kansas and Kansas State didn't offer. He goes, frankly, I'm kind of mad at that. I don't know why they went. I mean, the kid's athletic, has vertical jump, visited Army last weekend, and decided that he's going to stick with NDSU.
And I think still the snowball effect from that win in Lawrence still being affected. NDSU got 2 guys out of there last year in Derek Lee and Deshaun Dinwiddie, and you just mentioned 3 more out of Kansas. It just can't be underestimated what that win did. And also in neighboring Nebraska, where the Bison, 4 of the best players on NDSU's current roster hail from Nebraska. Christian Dudzik, a starter all year long, was named all-freshman by the College Sports Journal. And now they get 2 more, another quarterback out of Nebraska in Derek McGinnis.
Derek McGinnis, 6'3", 200 out of Creighton, Nebraska. And I think that's, NDSU learned a few years ago that you need a quarterback every year or you're going to get burned. And that's what happened in 2-3 years ago, where they were down to 1 guy. And, you know, you can't really run a system with just 1 quarterback. And Bo Likas, a safety from Bellevue. It's a kid who's very fast, got some skills to him.
Familiar area, too, for the Bison who've hit Bellevue over the last couple years. Let's get closer to home here. NDSU always likes to get the North Dakota kids. We'll talk about that in a second. They get 4 out of Minnesota, including a couple near our neck of the woods. Zach Riopel was the 2nd verbal out of Warren Alvarado Oslo, a smaller school. Really fast kid. They like him at linebacker. He played wide receiver for the Ponies. And also in Kerry Woods, the wide receiver who I've been on this guy since I saw him play against Moorhead way back in September out of Bemidji. Super fast, 6'1", can fly down the field. He's also a tremendous basketball player. He gives them that wide receiver, that X guy out of the wing that I think the Bison really are going to need next season. I
think they're going to need one of these guys to step up, whether it's Deshaun Warren or Kerry Woods or maybe another...
or D. Gray out of Illinois.
Or D. Gray, 6'4", 180, who I think they're pretty high on too. Kerry Woods, I know you've been talking about him a lot. It's a matter of one of these guys can come in fall camp. And hopefully for the NDSU, they can get him in the summer and get into their workout system then. But they come in fall camp, and it's a matter of picking up the offense. Now, how fast can you pick up the offense? It's not just a matter of learning plays either. You have to learn reads, and you have to learn all kinds of zone defenses and looks. So there's a lot of mental aspect to it, too.
I think it also says for a lot of the youth of this team, there was only a couple of true freshmen that actually played in 2011. Nate Moody, who was the true freshman walk-on from Dickinson, who actually saw some big-time minutes as we got into the playoffs. And then also, Deshaun Dinwiddie played a little bit. Jordan Champion nearly got on the roster, one of the kids out of Arizona, but didn't see the field. This is a different kind of class where the Bison are losing 18 guys. Granted, a majority of the key contributors of the national championship team are underclassmen and will be back. I'm just going to go on a limb. I think some of these guys are going to have to see the field next season.
Yep, and I think wide receiver in particular, you're going to see 6-7 guys and may the best 4 win. I think that's what it's going to come down to. Of course, you got a couple coming back with Ryan Smith, most notably, that is a for sure starter. But after that, I think it's wide open. Unknown. It's an unknown.
The 2 other guys out of Minnesota are huge. Zach Johnson, a 6'5" kid, offensive lineman out of Eastview High School, which has also been kind of the Bison. That's where Frank Veltman hails out of, who redshirted this season. And Brett Pierce out of Holy Angels. We talked about briefly last week, another 6'5" guy. No more monsters up front for the Bison on the defensive line.
I have to wonder how the coaches are going to sweat this week out because, well, I don't know if teams can come back at you now.
This is it. No, the coaches' dead period stopped on Sunday,
now.
so they can talk to him over the phone, but no in-person visits after this.
So, but you're still sweating some stuff out, some late offers, and some of these guys are pretty borderline FBS, FCS guys, which is, if you can get them,
no doubt,
that's the way to go. Now let's go to North Dakota. Jack Planker, 6'7", 290, offensive lineman out of Kindred, who I think was #1 on their board as far as...
He was the first guy also to verbal for this class.
He was. And there's a guy with a world of potential. I'm actually going out to Kindred in a few minutes after we get done and talk to Jack.
He's a monster up front. He's also a great basketball player, but a guy who went to their camp. I remember talking to Jack over the summer. He always wanted to be a Bison, very similar to the mold of Ryan Drevlo. He told me I wanted to grow up and play for NDSU. It was a lifelong dream for him, and he got the chance to do that now after being offered back this summer.
Bison like those big guys who can do stuff like basketball. They look like a Keith Buckman. They recruited him not because of football, but when they saw him on the basketball court, they saw his agility and said, okay, we're in on him. Brett Pearson, defensive lineman, 6'5", 265. He's the goalie.
I know, his hockey team. MJ Stump is the other kid out of Harvey, North Dakota for the Hornets, who are the top-ranked team in Class A a majority of this season. I know you followed him a little bit. He played quarterback at high school. He was very good for the Hornets there, but he'll play linebacker at NDSU.
His coach says he's just an outstanding hitter, one of the best hitters he's ever had, just a real explosive guy.
And this is another guy in the mold of Travis Beck, playing at a small school like Beck did at Langdon. They love Stump. In terms of what he can bring to the table from a small kid out of Harvey, North Dakota, think that he can make the same kind of impact that Travis Beck did here in 2011.
Well, if you have speed, it's hard to coach speed. So if you have that, that's a good start. He's 195. You get him into their weight room, and I just think they like those guys. But you have to start with the quicks.
When you look at this class as a whole, and obviously there's still a few more pieces to go, last year Craig Bohls told us on signing day a majority of these guys are depth guys. We're not going to see the field, and that proved to be accurate. You look at the 2012 class, just a rough guess out of 16, how many of these guys do you think see the field come September 1st?
I think maybe 1 or 2 wide receivers to look at that. After that, I just don't know if you're going to see anybody. They're pretty solid in the defensive and offensive lines. I don't think anybody's going to come in and wow them there. And no, I think maybe a receiver or two, either D. Gray, Warren, one of those guys, and Woods has a good chance of seeing the field. 5
quarterbacks will now be on the Bison roster once.
Oh, I know where you're going with this question.
Derek McGinnis signs on February 1st. That's a lot. And the oldest guy of those is Brock Jensen, who's a junior. It begs, there's a log jam there that say that not everybody can obviously play because only one quarterback can be on the field at one time. Either somebody's leaving or somebody's changing position. I think it's Esley Thornton in my mind.
I think it is too. I think he'll get the opportunity if he wants to anyway. And not only is Brock Jensen the oldest, he's just a junior.
He just led the team to the national championship.
So pretty hard to. I would say he's #1 if I were to guess. I would say he's #1 going into the spring.
That's important to mention that. For the first time, and I think in 3 years since Steve Walker graduated, the Bison have a legitimate #1 guy that Craig Bohls can say, he's our guy coming into spring ball. They haven't had that in 3 years.
That's a nice luxury to have if you're the coaches.
No doubt. Signing day comes up on Wednesday. We'll have full coverage of that. And then back next week, it's a huge week for the Bison men's basketball team. After a great landmark win against Oakland, who they never won, they get Oral Roberts coming for the final time to the BSA. We're back next week to break that down. For Jeff Kolpack, I'm Dom Izzo. This is the latest edition of the Bison Video Blog.